Haloo ja tervetuloa Cutie Art Crusaderin 148 jakson pariin. Minun nimeni on OtakuAP ja olen tämän viikon suomentaja. Ja tänään seurassani on...
Yeah, that was awesome!
Which one of us goes next? Oh, we suck! My name is Rainbow Plasma, and I'm the organizer and host of the podcast.
And ich heiße Bernd 01 and ich bin the special guest coordinator in whatever that is in German.
I like the fact that you immediately lost your accent. You were just like speaking German. Special guest coordinator.
Yeah, with an N at the end, special coordinator, and yeah, that sounds German.
All right, so yeah, welcome to the podcast. We've got a very special guest today who did our wonderful intro.
Excuse me,
Finnish.
very special host.
Sure, yes, very special host who did our intro in Finnish this week. So give a warm welcome, everybody, to Otaku AP.
Hello.
Thanks for being on the show.
I know, so like this is episode 148, which is like 120 episodes after we should have had you on, I know. But like we are really, really bad at being like lazy about these things. So, you know, it's awesome that we can have you on now as like a, you know, like a part of the podcast, because I feel like for those of you who don't know Otaku is like the OG fan art guy. He's made the most pieces of fan art that we've gotten. He made the very first piece of fan art that we ever got that inspired that whole fan art episode like 3 years ago, and like, you know, he's stuck with us the entire way and made a bunch of really, really cool fan art pieces. So, you know, I'm glad that you were able to come on in a fashion like this, because I feel like, you know, you're a part of the team. You're not someone that we interview. You're more of a part of the team, you know?
We've talked about this too. Like Otaku, you're part of the the East branch of CAC. You know,
yes.
like the like really nice Northern European like group. Yeah.
Yeah.
So welcome.
Yeah, welcome.
Thank you.
So I actually, this is unrelated, and I just thought of this right now, but I should mention this because when we led up to episode 100, and God, we're awful people. When we led up to episode 100, we invited 6 different guests on, and those 6 people were supposed to be like prominent figures in our community that we wanted to invite on. And there's a specific reason why Otaku AP did not come on to the podcast on that.
We hate you.
So, like, we had the 6 of them,
kidding,
and people were asking us, like, what about Otaku AP? Like, seems like a pretty big feature, you know? Like, and I can't remember. Did we send you a message, Otaku?
I think so.
Yeah. So I'm pretty sure we sent you a message because we were like, the reason, like, we want to tell you before these come out that we're not inviting you, specifically because we want to have you on your own episode.
Yeah. The main reason in which we chose to not get you in on those 6 episodes is because we wanted to have an Otaku AP interview. And so, like, just think about it like this is the warm-up for the Otaku AP interview if everyone listened to this. So, like, be prepared for the thing that will be that.
So, like, a year ago, we were like, so we're going to do an interview, so that's why you're not on this. And then I guess we just forgot because we're awful people.
I mean, I'm great people. I just happen to be a horrible person.
So anyways, it's wonderful to have you on because I want to make amends for the fact that we totally forgot to include you. We didn't forget to include you a year ago, but we didn't include you, and then we forgot to follow up with you. So glad to have you on.
Secretly, I worship you.
Thank you.
Well, that's a bit strange, Bernd, and I wish you wouldn't whisper into the microphone so much, but that's fine.
The shrine that is my desktop wallpapers.
It's true. A lot of my wallpapers are your art, so.
All right. You had talking points, Max. Please do go on.
I did have talking points. And for the record, everybody, if you're not hearing Otaku AP, it's because he's taken the role of Joel this episode, and he's a very quiet little Finnish man, and it's adorable. So
you do have to enter in the quiet little giggles, though, to make up for Ted being gone.
It's true, and he does have quiet little giggles, so we can totally hear those. But we'll let you get comfortable while I tell a couple of silly stories here. And then we can move on to the art pieces, and we can talk about those. So first of all, this is like a really quick one, but I went out to get rollerblades this week because I am apparently transported back to the 90s. I decided I wanted to rollerblade.
Or 80s even. You should actually pick up some spandex to go with those.
Dude, my entire wardrobe is spandex. I'm not sure if you knew this.
Oh, okay.
But all of my wardrobe is spandex. Yeah, so like summer was coming up, and I wanted like an excuse to like go out and like exercise in like the beautiful summer weather because like Canada only gets like 2 months of it. And so I was like, I could pick up a bike, but I've already biked. Biking is boring, you know. So I was like, what else could I do? I've always liked skating.
I could go fruit boating.
I really like skating. Like skating's cool, but I never ended up doing it because it's such a
Oh yeah,
pain.
Canada.
Yeah,
Sorry.
and like I really like
Jokes.
hockey. I was like, oh, what's similar to that? Like, oh yeah, rollerblades. You know, like inline skates.
It's
And
just
so-
hockey in the summer.
Exactly. So, and I'm horrible at skating, and it's such a pain to like go and find ice. But you don't need to find ice with rollerblades. You just find ground, and that's not hard to find.
Well, like relatively flat ground because doing that junk in the dirt would kind of suck.
Yeah, but like sidewalks. Like I can rollerblade to work and back. Like it's no problem.
Is your work that close?
Yeah, it's like a 10-minute walk.
Nice.
So yeah, I got rollerblades. So that'll
You
be
gotta
fun.
roll into your work with short shorts. Like, hello.
So I will let everyone know how the rollerblading experience goes. I'm going to come back in like 2 weeks and be like, I hate rollerblading. It sucks. But yeah.
Gosh, I remember I went hiking. Like, I'm joking, telling you to wear like fruity boots, blah blah. But I went hiking with my friends, and for fun, because I guess I'm that guy, I had these really like tight running shorts, like spandex, that basically look like short shorts, but they're like super super tight. And I wore those to go hiking all the way up to the top of this mountain because we were hiking with a bunch of people we didn't know, and I just wanted to make them feel awkward.
Nice.
And it was really good. It was fun. Like that with the tank top really made for quite the pictures. I think I might post one.
You should post them. Yeah. Okay, so the other thing that I wanted to talk about was an office prank that I did this week. So, as people know, I work at EA. And at EA, when you're like a co-op student, you get paired up with a mentor. And this mentor is supposed to like teach you.
It's actually Miantor.
And shut up. And like
Miantorino.
the mentor is supposed to like guide you and be like your first contact. So kind of like your boss. You have like one-on-one meetings with them every 2 weeks, and I think people can kind of get the idea when I
Your
say mentor.
Navi, if you will. Your past selves to your Aang.
Sure. Anyways, so he was away this week. He was off at another studio, and he was gone from Monday until Thursday. And so I was sitting around because a coworker of mine drove me to go get the rollerblades on Wednesday. So we stayed late. And while we were staying late, I took pictures of my mentor. I found the most embarrassing 6 pictures that I could find on Facebook and from Googling.
Right. Is this anything like that thing in the frame of your old job?
Kind of.
All right, go on.
But then what I did was I took those 6 pictures and I printed off 50 copies of them.
Jesus.
And I put the copies all around the office. And I also wrapped his keyboard and monitor in those copies as well. So when he walked in today, he looks around and everybody has a picture of him on their desk. And like also it's like on like the fridge and like in his drawer and like all over the place. So yeah, he thought it was pretty funny. I thought it was very clever, but he apparently he appreciated it. So now the best part is that like when I put them up, I expected people to be like, "What's this about?" Everybody else in the studio was totally on board with it. Like they walked in on Thursday and they were like, "This is strange. Let's go with it,"
Yeah.
And also those pictures are still up. So like when I go back on Monday, I expect to still see pictures of his face, and I hid some.
Some of them are like people start putting them in frames and stuff.
Yeah, so I hid some, so like they're gonna be finding them like months from now. It's like my gift to them as I leave at the end of August.
Oh my!
So it's gonna be great. Yeah,
I'm looking forward to like the Facebook messages you get like 6 months down the line. Like I found another one.
Well, Bern, did I tell you about the thing that I'm doing every single day with my coworker, like sending messages back and forth?
Mm-mm.
Okay, so I'm not going to tell you that because it'd be spoilers. But at the end of my like internship, I'm going to gather. Basically, there's these messages that I've been sending back and forth between my coworkers, which are hilarious. And I'm going to like aggregate them all and like show them to like the podcast with like the appropriate information censored out because they're really really funny. But I'll tell you after the podcast, Brent.
Like that thing of like hiding pictures though, I've totally done something similar with my friend. He had this box full of just like common magic cards that weren't worth anything, and I took just a bunch of these cards and I hid them all throughout his room, just like anywhere I could imagine. And I hid some in like places that he would like never look. Like he has like a bookshelf right full of books he never reads, so I like stuck a bunch in between the pages like bookmarks and stuff. So like years down the line, if he's moving and like moves one of these books, like a magic card's gonna fall out. He's gonna be like, "Damn it, Bert!" He's still been sending me messages like 2 years later.
That's great. That's great. So yeah, that was my prank this week. I think it went over well. All right. Do you want to talk about The Room, or are we gonna just go to
Nah, everyone just know that if you've ever heard of The Room, It is the most horrible movie I've ever seen in my life. One of my friends dragged me to The Room, the riff track version down in Portland, and it was like, it was an experience. It was definitely an experience.
Yeah.
What was that movie we were talking about?
Citizen Kane?
Yeah, it was the Citizen Kane of bad movies, if anyone gets that reference.
I think people will.
My life has been scarred. Lisa! I didn't hit you, Lisa. Haha.
Oh, hi, Mark.
Oh, hi,
Right.
Mark. Okay.
So yeah, that is all of our talking points for this week. So thank you for listening to the podcast. That's everything.
All right. See you guys next week. Good dog. Hello. Tschüss. Goodbye.
Otaku AP said one thing. No, okay. So we are going to move on to the art pieces now, and I guess I will move us along to there. And I think what we should do, Bernd, and we've done this occasionally, but like whenever we have special guests, we should make them say like the first point about the art piece that they like, you know?
Oh, yes.
You okay with this? I'm just totally throwing this at you right now.
Yeah.
So like we should do that, right?
You know that bus? You're under it now. All right.
Awesome. All right. So what's the first art piece, Bernd?
The first piece of this week is called Aspire by Vest. And it is a lovely, fabulous digital piece of Rainbow Dash.
So we're going to start us off with Otaku AP, and you're going to let us know, what do you see about this piece? What do you like about this piece?
Well, where do I begin? I don't know where to begin.
That's all right.
I like everything about it.
Well, I see this Rainbow Dash cutie mark. And what makes it interesting is that it still kind of looks natural.
So it's how that cutie mark is made, in which the way it is represented is extremely visually interesting. So
the
like
giant cutie mark, right? Like this thing is massive and in our face. So I mean, like I'm looking around the piece and I find it difficult to look at anything else because it's just like cutie mark.
Yes, I love it. I like it.
It's like the main focus of the piece, right? So like when I first like found this and saw this, it's like, oh my gosh, there's Rainbow Dash's cutie mark. Like, no, it's really big, it's really cool. But it's the way in which that cutie mark is represented that's really, really cool to me, right? So the word we love to throw around all the time is like, oh, atmospheric perspective. Like things get like more desaturated and blah in the background. And here you have Rainbow Dash's cutie mark, which is like literally the cutout of a giant like cave that in which Rainbow Dash is like sitting in. And then the red, yellow, and blue in her cutie mark is created by ambient lighting and then the fading of things as they go in the distance, and you can tell that they get farther away. So it's this really cool like geographical rock thing that is like that turns into her cutie mark, in which she's also like placed in a little pinnacle, and it's really technically cool.
Yeah, I agree. It's definitely like I one of the things I enjoy about it is the way that sometimes it's not always the case in nature. It's more so like handcrafted, but sometimes you have those situations where you've got these like pieces that when you look at them from like most angles don't really make any sense, and then you hit that one angle where they all align and suddenly it makes like a word or a picture or something like that. I feel like this is kind of like that, because we've got the first outcropping, but then we've got those rocks in the background that like give them like the different layering of the cutie mark, right? So it's all about like hitting this at this exact angle.
Yeah, that's awesome. And it's so like, I don't know, like everything looks very like earthy too. Like it still seems very natural, even though like obviously you can tell this is this clearly cut cutie mark. It's like all the rock faces and stuff. They're very I guess rocky is a good adjective.
Yes, thank you, Bernd. Great adjective. I really didn't notice it at first, but it seems like they picked each of these to kind of like, it's not just the shape of the cutie mark, it's also the colors of the cutie mark too, kind of desaturated, but like that's what you're talking about, right? Like those, you've got the red and the yellow and the blue from the cutie mark.
And if you look at the sky, the cloud is also there in the same shape.
Right, like it kind of like it's brighter and whiter to kind of represent the cloud. Yeah, you're right. It is a very kind of like subtle aspect of it, and I think that's a great point that they made it look natural, because it really adds to this piece, because that's what the piece is trying to convey, right? The piece is trying to
kind of lie to us.
Well, it's trying to show that this is like a natural forming. It's not like man or pony made or something that someone did. It's like the sign that nature has come together to show Rainbow Dash this thing.
Yeah. like kind of what you were trying to talk about there, talking with like the colors. Like, everything about the colors in this piece is just, I don't know, really well done. I guess it's like, good job, Vest. Like, I'm jealous of the colors you could use. Like, I wish I could do stuff like this. It's like, because Rando's Cutie Mark, it's like red, yellow, blue, right? It's these primaries, but there's also like these they're like kind of off pastel, and as they go back and get desaturated, they're like the lighter color primaries, and like they don't seem like too in your face. And then inside in the cave, everything's very, very dark, you know, like kind of receded, but they're still like a cool area is the vignette that's kind of, maybe that's the wrong word, vignette, like cast lighting around the cloud in the top there, like that blue kind of like the light bleeds in to the top or like into our eyes, you know, because it'd be shining into our eyes. And also the light around the little spire that Rainbow Dash is like standing on, like there's that kind of light that kind of bleeds into there. And then the spire itself is actually very, very dark and has like almost like a blue violet in the bottom left, and then like a red, like a deep red on the other side of it. It's just like all the colors everywhere still like do really crazy things, you know?
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Colors, colors, colors.
Also, tiny little pony.
Yeah.
There's a pony in this piece.
It's almost like the minor point of this piece, right? Like, it, like if it was just like a cave and you just sort of Photoshop out Rainbow Dash, like it almost like wouldn't be apparent that it's like a pony piece, you know? Like obviously it's like it's her cutie mark, but it's just like it's a cool shape that it's like cut out, and but then you place her in there, you know?
It's almost like it's almost like it's almost like it's a, you know, it becomes like a scene, you know, like Rainbow Dash is coming across this and being like sitting back in awe and kind of having some sort of sign, you know, as I mentioned before, which is it's an interesting kind of storyline, you know,
sets a narrative, if it were.
Yeah,
cool stuff.
Well, you know, I was gonna turn it over to Otaku, but I just realized that I don't really have much else to really say. I think a lot of this piece is focused around the rock formations, which of course there's a lot of cool things about, but the rest of it is meant to be subtle, you know?
I mean, we could talk about how the light draws your eye to the top, like nobody's business. It's really hard to look like the bottom of the picture because it's so bright up there.
I do see that. What's there's somebody talk about what is it? Like how bright certain things are will attract your focus to them, right? So like value and then contrast are two of the biggest things that can basically direct your eye or allow you to see things. So like what makes this cutie mark so apparent to us is the huge stark contrast which is caused by the bright like cutie mark versus how dark the cave is, right? So that sharp edge of contrast there is what causes like our eye to like really gravitate towards it, right? So the really bright light in the top that Otaku was just talking about, and then that's like swap to the cut of the dark cave, where it's like it's not as apparent down below. Like there's some definite contrast, but it's not as sharp. So it's like the spire thing that Rainbow Dash is standing on becomes the thing with like the sharpest contrast, you know? Like in my comic class, something we're talking about is what my teacher's been saying is that when it comes to painting or drawing, comics, especially in black and white, like contrast is king, as they put it, because that's the main thing that will let you like drive your focus, let you see characters, let you tell things from the background, and that's how you basically do everything, is this contrast between, you know, the white paper and then black ink.
Shall we move on to the next piece then?
Contrast.
It was a yes or no answer, Bernd, and nowhere in my let me just get my dictionary here really quick.
I appreciate that you have any kind of paper to make like audible noises with.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I was lying to you. That was a piece of paper. Anyways, it's not an answer. Yes, no, maybe so.
Maybe.
There we go. Okay, so I'm gonna take that as a yes.
Contrastorino.
Maybe is Finnish for yes, right?
Close enough.
Yeah, there we go. I like your attitude. All right, so our next piece is called Something Goes Wrong by Scooty Bloom. And it is a picture of Ronbu doing her thing inside the weather factory. Of course, this was from a recent season 5 episode where she crashes into the lightning room, and this is the moment before all heck breaks loose.
I think we were all saying that was one of our favorite shots, like little establishing shot things in when she was thrown into that room with all the little lightning jars. Like, it was just so, like, thematically cool, right? Because, like, you have this fantastical world or whatever that is kind of like My Little Pony, but there's these certain things that are, like, visually interesting, or I can't think of the right word, but it's like the
What are you talking about?
The magical world, in that it's like portray. God, I can't. Words are hard. It's a cool scene. Her getting thrown into like a closet full of jarred lightning was just really cool. You know what I mean?
It's quite
like,
fantastical.
Fantastical is the word that I like to use. Yes, that was like the buzzword I chose. But I like to try to bring up a simile. Like, recently I've been watching a lot of movies by Studio Ghibli. So, like Howl's Floating Castle or Spirited Away or Totoro or whatever. Yeah. They paint this like beautiful, wondrous, like fairy tale scene thing through like all this crazy like imagery. And so like this scene I felt like was very close to that. Like her in a factory that literally makes the weather for this universe. She was thrown into a closet like full of all these like jarred lightning bolts and different aspects of like weather, right?
Yeah, it's really good. It's really good world building, I think. It's a great way to establish kind of this fantasy world, and we will be introduced to a weather factory, and we'll be like, all right, well, we'll just take this at face value, and we see how snow is made and how clouds are made and stuff, but well, what about lightning? You don't even think about that. And then when you're introduced to this, you're like, oh, that's an interesting concept of how they would do it. Like, where does this come from? How do they bottle the lightning?
Yeah.
Like, how does that even happen? So
still very cool stuff. Clearly all that machinery outside that she wrecked.
Yeah. So, I think one thing that I should mention before we talk too much more is something that Joel would bring up, which is the very interesting perspective in this piece. And so, I think if you look on the left-hand side of the piece, it's not tremendously, difficult to view. It's pretty straightforward. The shelves are straight. You've got glass jars on them. They make sense. It goes to the back wall. They all kind of meet up in a pseudo vanishing point style. But then, as you move from left to right, the piece kind of like warps around, like as the camera gets closer to this closer shelf, you've got this like warping effect with the shelves and the bottles, and it's really cool. I like it.
Yeah, I like that as well.
Yeah, it's like, it's not like the entire scene is warped either. It's just like a part of it, right?
Yeah.
And like how do those, like, look at those pillars in the back. They're all like bendy and like, the shelf at the back looks like it's twisted almost like a 45-degree angle.
Yeah.
And
like it's no longer following those rules of perspective, right? Where like things kind of follow to a vanishing point and that stuff we were talking about. But like it's the artist has like purposely warped it and like bent all these things to almost like personify the like epicness or the oh no of this like a little like the lightning jar like tipping over,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it almost like gives like an impact to it, like when you look at it, it's like, oh yeah, of course it's gonna fall over because it's all wibbly wobbly,
Yeah.
It's not just a jar that's tipped over. It's also like the entire shelf is going woo, even though that might just be the perspective.
Or it is the shelf because they are on the cloud. So
yeah, I don't.
Who knows?
Maybe she came barreling into the room and the shelf is actually like wibbling around. Who knows? I don't remember. I believe it or not, even though I love the episode, I did not go back and frame by frame that. So
it would be interesting to go and see the scene and like compare it to this and see what the artist like references and changed.
Right. Like, I don't remember in particular. If you look around at this piece, you'll see that there's different shelves with different shapes of lightning. So, like, we've got, like, a one crook of lightning there on the top left, and the one closest to us has got a couple of zigzags, and, like, that one over the left kind of looks like an arrow, and, like, there's stars at the back, so it's like, are there different types of lightning? I don't remember if that was, like, a thing in the weather factory.
I think it was a thing.
But that's cool. Oh yeah, like in the actual MLP episode, it went by so fast.
At least there were different colored ones.
Right.
Yeah, there was different colored ones. I think they had little like labels and stuff. Yeah, like I definitely have to go back and look.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I also, like I've got to say this because I'm a face guy, but I love Rainbow Dash's like little like innocent face. It's almost like she's realized what she's done, and she immediately goes into like innocent mode of like, oh.
Yeah, I think the artist made it a bit cuter than originally like made or whatever, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it's made it a bit cute. So, Otaku, is there anything that kind of stands out to you besides what we've talked about?
Ooh. Well, the reflection looks a bit flat, but...
Yeah, you mean like the reflection of her along the floor?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, the thing that I guess I have a little bit of an issue with in terms of the reflection is that, like, a reflection is, like, based on how you're viewing the glass, right? Like, you know, when you're looking down at something, your vision bounces, right? That's the reflection. So if we were to continue looking at that floor, you can even see down there's the jars that are on the wall that are reflecting.
Yeah.
And those are kind of proper, but not really, because what a reflection is supposed to be is it's supposed to be like, you know, your vision is going in like a straight line from your eye or the camera down into the glass or the mirror, and then it bounces at like it bounces off of it, right? And then it reflects whatever that sightline would see, you know? So when we see Rainbow Dash, it's like her reflection would be like right underneath her, you know? Like it would go kind of straight up and down. But it's not really the case here. Well, maybe it is.
So with the mirror, everything will always be horizontal with you when you're looking at it, because it will be cast directly like back at your like lie and whatever, blah blah blah. So the beams, if you look in the jars, they're going like away from us to the left, and then Rainbow Dash is going to the right. So they're at a conflicting reflection, where technically everything would be reflected completely horizontal with our view, with our eye. So it would be up and down from our vision.
So maybe Rainbow Dash is correctly reflected, but it's the other stuff that's throwing me off then. Because like Rainbow Dash is kind of horizontal to our view. It's a little bit tilted to the right.
Yeah, you could say that.
But it's closer than I think the beams, whereas the beams and like the background and stuff, you know, their reflections match up if you were like looking at the room straight on, right? As opposed to like the angle that we're at.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe that's the
like
perspective. But.
How you would look at it is like if you go look at any reflection of like a pond or anything, like you can Google like mirror reflecting pond or whatnot, you'll notice that everything that is reflected is completely the exact same up and down angle in which it is in the in real life, whatever. So the reflection is just the exact opposite of the angle in which it is. Yeah. So in this one, like, it's a little bit more complex, obviously, because we're like up at this crazy angle and like things are being warped and whatnot. But I don't know.
It is a bit
there's
strange,
some warping,
and it definitely gives the sense that the piece is warping more. So maybe you know that was like a little bit intentional, or it does give off this sense of like, you know, movement and weird warpiness, you know, because the reflections aren't matching and the shelf is bending, and so, you know, in a way it contributes to this shaky feel of the piece.
Because like just how the artist is chosen to bend the actual like right side of the screen and like bend all these like the jars and shelves and stuff, you could say that the artist has chosen to kind of like make the reflection, I don't know, reflect part of like how the artist wants you to see the scene or whatever, you know. I wouldn't say that's too far of a stretch. Also, I linked a picture of the actual shot of when she gets thrown in the closet and she's surrounded by all these really bright glowing jars. Like there's like the labels and the shelves and stuff. So, and
you know what, her pose is not tremendously off.
That's
like,
true.
It's pretty close actually.
Yep.
So there you go. I guess all of those jars must be like wobbling back and forth or something, right?
I believe so, yeah.
Yeah. Because they all look like really flat, and it's like, well, did any of them actually fall over? Or... oh, yeah, that's cool. Thanks for that comparison. You'll have to put that up on the screen.
Yeah. I really, like I said, I like the scene, and I like this picture. Just like between all like the different colors and the artist's own take on it, and I actually really do like the warping of the right side. And like showing like the jar and stuff. I think it's very cool, very well done. Like the reflection bit's just kind of a minor thing, you know, and like you would have to technically repaint all the reflection and Like, sometimes as a digital artist, like, you just can't be bothered repainting all that stuff from hand, you know? Can I just get the image, flip it, like, do some photoshopping, call it good? And, I mean, no one's gonna, like, critique you as hard as we are. We're just, you know, so.
Yeah, and I mean, again, it's not always a negative, right? Like, it can contribute to the piece feeling a certain way, even if it's unintentional. It still, it doesn't mean it doesn't exist, you know?
I feel like the just, like, putting the reflections there is way better than not putting them there. Like, actually, like, including the reflections gives everything a certain feeling, and I don't know, gives it a certain kind of I don't know, even emotion, you know, reflecting her and reflecting everything in the scene. It seems way more like well done than if you were just kind of, you know, ignore that and put some colors on the floor. And even the artist actually did include some colors along with it, of just, like, reflecting colors of the lights and jars on the floor and stuff like that too. So very well done, I'd say.
All right, do we want to move on to the very last piece then?
Yes.
Which is our piece that was brought on by Mr. Otaku AP. So do you want to introduce this?
My piece is called Flutterbat by Knob. I guess Knob.
B-Knob, yeah.
B-Knob, something like that.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, and it's picture of Fluttershy as a or Flutterbat. Yeah,
there we go.
Yeah.
And it's very blurred.
Hey,
it is pretty blurred. Is there like a specific reason that you like chose this piece? When we asked you to pick up a piece, like, you were really quick on it, so you must really like this piece.
Yeah, you were on it, dude.
Yeah. I picked it mostly for the colors, really, and shading, and yeah, I like the colors very much.
Yeah. So yeah, it's you're right. There is definitely a lot of blorange in this piece, and a lot of similar kind of like just little shifts. You know, we've got a bit of purple in there. We got a little bit of pink, a little bit of red coming out from, I guess that's the moon. Interesting, very interesting.
Like, the color palette for this is actually just really neat to me, because, like, it feels very different or unique than what you normally see. Because, like, normally when you see blorange, it's like it's a very distinct kind of like quality of blue with its direct complement of this certain like kind of warm orange. But the more distinct colors in this, to me, almost like the yellow in the moon, like, really comes across really strong, because it's like the brightest portion of the moon. And then the clouds all hold this kind of like deep orange like silhouette, and then they instantly go into like a neutral and start blending with the other colors. So it's like you can see like the flat clouds below Flutterbat are kind of dip in between that, and the clouds at the bottom are like actually like violet and stuff. Yeah, even I was gonna just point out that even the blue in the background, like, a lot of it to me on my monitor looks very violet in areas where the blue underneath Flutterbat is the like richest part of like actual blue, but then the other blue that's next to the deep orange clouds is closer to a violet, so you kind of have this violet and orange. And so like the aspects of pink and everything like around the moon, and then in the bats down below, and in Fluttershy and stuff like that, that kind of like pinkish purple ends up playing with the orange more than the blue, or just as much as the blue does. And then, like I was saying, even the blue's kind of a violet. So to me, the entire color palette of this piece is very like violet-y along that spectrum, and then in the orange spectrum. And it's like, it's the play with that where you kind of dip into blue or go more towards red or whatever, you know?
Yeah, you know, to me, you know, we talk a big game about blue and orange, and how they're complements, opposites on the traditional color wheel. And but you know, we can also talk a little bit about the common complements too, right? So obviously red and green, very well known, probably the most well known, but the last one in those kind of three main complements is yellow and purple. And yellow and purple serve a very similar role to green and red and blue and orange. So in this piece, I think it's kind of a combination of both of those complements. So we do have the blue and we do have the orange. You can't deny that, right? But you also have a lot of yellow and a lot of blue. And so it plays with the spectrum. So there's two parts to it. There's a range from blue to purple, and there's a range from yellow to orange, and like plays with all of the cool colors in between there. But like that's basically it. There's a little bit of red, but other than that, it's basically just those combinations of those four colors.
It was much more well articulated than I put it. So thank you for that.
Sorry, should I like dumb it down afterwards so like it makes you look better? Like
the words that came out.
I also like the horse.
No, don't go into burn mode on me.
Oh, so
But,
was that burn mode?
That's my job to look like the idiot on the podcast, right?
I didn't say it was burn mode, but I was thinking.
All right. But yeah, no, just like you were saying, like I feel like the play for me personally, I guess I should say, I feel like the play between purple and yellow is the strongest, and then they play with that on the spectrum. So then like the blues and the yellow starts to come in. Because like I was saying, when I kind of step back and look at this piece, the blue is only really prevalent underneath her in the very bottom of the piece, and then up above in the moon, the yellow feels more prevalent. But obviously it has a very like huge area of orange on the right hand side, and we might all view this a little different depending on our monitor. However, I'm very confident with the contrast in mind.
Yeah.
And then the violet in the sky, like up above, where the blue actually starts shifting closer to purple, that like plays with all the orange around it much more than like the blue does almost. And I really like this piece because that playing its choice of color palette is very, very unique in anything that I've seen before, and it's very distinct. Like we were just talking about contrast. Like for this piece, like contrast is very, very key in this because everything's very bright. The hues are very saturated in a lot of areas, and so how those play with the colors around them is what makes this so visually beautiful to us, you know. But even that being said, you can tell how well it's made and how much the artist really knows what they're doing because of the areas that are less distinct, where colors start to blend together. So in the clouds, I really like how they like shift to more of a neutral hue, like more neutral colors, and have like blues and violets and pinks blend into them, and then they kind of like do very, very interesting color things where I don't know if the artist is playing with transparencies or what, but there's definitely some awesome stuff kind of like blended in there as the clouds recede and go down and like warp around the moon and stuff.
Yeah, and you know, I would say the majority of this piece comes down to the interesting color choices. Not to diminish anything else. You know, a lot of things are well done in this piece, but I think, you know, when it comes down to what makes this unique and what makes it interesting, you know, those color choices really do kind of speak volumes about that. Now, the other interesting thing that I wanted to bring up was the kind of shape of the scene. So the environment is set up to be kind of like circular, but you can only see part of the scene, right? So these clouds are circular around the moon, but in a way you can imagine it in 3D space as if the clouds are also surrounding Flutterbat as well, you know, like and it kind of, even though in this piece, when you look at it from a 2D perspective, Flutterbat isn't being surrounded by the clouds, you know, it's the circle would fall higher, you know. When you imagine it in 3D space, and this might be difficult for some people, but you know, when you imagine it in 3D space, suddenly she becomes the focal point, because you can imagine the clouds like coming out and surrounding her as well, you know. But we can't quite see it in 2D because of the kind of interesting like bottom up camera angle.
Yeah, so like everything from the composition is really cool. Like you do have like clouds kind of like almost pointing at her in areas, and then the clouds in the bottom actually like round around her. So yeah, there's this very circular like thing emanating down like from the moon, like circling, wrapping around it. But you have Fluttershy kind of like in the middle and the top and a little bit above our viewpoint. So the horizon line, if we were to put that there, like obviously it's not in perspective clearly, but where the horizon would want to exist is in the very bottom portion of the piece, like with the trees, and where like the clouds kind of stop, and then there almost looks to be hints of the ground and how it's painted. So it physically looks like we're looking up like at Fluttershy, right? Because we can kind of like see underneath her, and obviously we're looking up at the moon, so it creates this perspective in which we are looking up at her, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Also on that point you mentioned where like talking about the colors, and I don't know where the hell I was going with that.
Colors again.
Colors. My point I wanted to make was that the colors are the thing that I kind of gravitate to the most because they're so bright and vibrant. So when we're looking at stuff to like critique about this piece, I like instantly kind of go to the colors, you know, because they're so vibrant. And I feel like they're the strongest like aspect in the piece in which these colors like playing with each other, right? But that being said, like everything else in the imagery is also very, very cool. Like I do like in the bottom portion, when you see those trees, the trees themselves are actually kind of made of bats. So you have this play with these shaded how would I put that? They're like planes of color, like shaded planes of color with like kind of violets and purples. And then portions of them are outlined and some of them are not outlined. So, but they're all made out of these like images of bats and then like outlined portions of bats. And then it looks just like trees and almost makes our like eyes want to seem like it's trees. But then you can see how they're actually like made with all these little silhouettes of bats to where it's like the trees are actually made of bats. You know what I mean? So like even that is very, very cool and technically really interesting when you kind of like look at it and try to decipher it. And like if you were to try to replicate that or do it yourself, like I wouldn't know how to do that. And so like that's a really, really cool area. And then the silhouettes of bats in the sky too, as they kind of go from the left, then go behind Fluttershy, and then on the right hand side they kind of like I don't know, swarm around her too.
Right.
So they're kind of like bottom left. It kind of goes, for me, it looks like it starts in the bottom left with those little yellow bright dots and then goes up and then goes to the right behind Fluttershy and then comes back around to the front. So there's also this kind of swirling around Fluttershy as well, which it kind of gives that feeling for me.
Mm-hmm. Wow, Otaku, you picked a dandy piece because Burned just went hardcore MLG art critique right here. My goodness. Well, that was definitely some good critique. Is there anything else that stands out to you, Otaku, if there's even anything else to talk about in the piece?
Well, there's the fireflies that are swirling around everywhere.
Yeah, what Burn was saying, those like dots. I guess they're fireflies, are they? I don't know.
I think it's subjective, right?
Yeah.
It's like it's a visually interesting. It's a visually interesting thing that the artist is chosen to include. So like we can see it as fireflies, we can see it as magic, we can see it as just bright specular lights, but there's this definite like really glowy bright specular things all around that are in the bats in the sky. Some of them actually look like stars, and then some of them look like little fireflies or even sparks. Maybe she's burning down the forest. I don't know.
Quick, my bats, burn down the forest.
Yeah.
Goodness, that's a dark turn. It's a very dark turn.
Also, there's one more thing. There's the eye on Flutterbat.
Mm-hmm. The bright red eye.
Yeah.
To me, it almost looks like you know how kind of like bright, like almost red that vignette is around the moon. That kind of like bright pink around the moon. It like that color quality almost seems to be really similar to the glowy color quality of her eye. So it's almost like it like they share some kind of similarity, right?
Yeah, like two things, because we do have to move on to questions. So I'm going to say two things and then we're going to go. I think you were mentioning, you're right, it is kind of subjective. In my mind, I create almost like a story, like she's taking the power of the blood moon or something like that. Channel her energy into making delicious cupcakes.
Yeah.
Because I really don't want to think about burning down the forest.
Yeah, the point is there's a quality between her eye and that light around the moon that is very similar,
There's a
right?
link that's created there.
Glowy.
Second thing is, like, I'm pretty sure you can't call it a vignette.
It's not the right word, I know.
A vignette is when a picture fades, like the borders of a picture fade out and don't have they fade and therefore they don't have a definite end to them, you know?
Yeah.
So like a vignette would be like fading out at the edges of the piece.
Like, I don't know the tech. I really don't know the technical
glow.
term for that glow around the moon. In Photoshop, it would be called an outer glow.
Yeah, it's a glow. I think glow is a totally fine way of kind of saying it.
Yeah.
So yeah.
It's a gradient that is emanated from something. So
Yeah, it's an emanating glow. I like it. It sounds fancy, and as long as it sounds fancy, then it means that it's right.
I like to just sometimes use big words and pretend like I know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
So
Welcome to the Cutie Art Crusaders, on episode 140 something.
Yeah.
If you haven't caught on to that by now, then sorry for ruining the magic. Oh man. I'm sorry, Otaku, for ruining the magic.
By the way, something I want to mention: this artist is from Japan, shout out to, again, international bronies like Otaku yourself, but like these artists in like Japan or Korea or China, then they post their artwork like on Pivx and stuff like that. Like that's awesome. Like I can't even begin like international cultures and stuff making awesome art like this. And we were just talking about even the Russian bronies too, where like the Russian bronies kind of have this kind of almost similar cultural style behind a lot of the stuff they make, you know, like Yaklav Vlad. Like B-Nob, like the art that this artist makes is very similar to like some other like Asian culture, especially Japanese art that we see, like brony fan art that we see. And it's awesome. I love it. It's
So
always great.
that translates great into our first question this week. Because our first question comes in from Sonnenblitz, and he says, "Oh man, can you not highlight it so I can read
Sorry.
it? Thanks." 1 from Canariada, 2 from America, 1 from Oystralia. You and your show are international. How many fans from other countries except North America and Australia do you know? And how do you feel about the fact that you have fans all over the world?
The world!
So, as is tradition, we always force our guests to also answer those questions. So, how do you feel, Otaku AP, that the Cutie Art Crusaders has fans all over the world? Because that's totally an answerable question.
As a fan yourself.
Well, it feels nice.
Well, I guess in a way, you being an international fan,
Yeah.
it's kind of cool to see that other people also partake.
And if you think about it, we're technically fans of yours as well. Like, I myself enjoy your art. We all do.
It's true.
And we're international. I'm originally from Alaska. So you have Alaskan fans.
Mm-hmm. It's true. You have Canadian fans as well. So let's flip it. Let's flip it around first. How does it make you feel, Otaku, that there are people all over the world, not from Finland, who enjoy and look forward to seeing your art?
Well, honestly, it feels kind of interesting when you think about it.
Well, yeah, it's weird.
And it's weird. Like, I mean, when I started trying, I didn't expect anyone to like my art. I don't like my art,
The artist struggle.
Typical artist.
obviously.
Yeah. So to see not only that people enjoy it, but also people enjoy it from all over the place.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean,
it's pretty weird.
Yeah.
Like, when you think about it. Like,
Yeah, when you really, really get behind this question, the answer to it is that there's just really a lot of weirdos all over the world.
yeah, pretty much.
that's totally what we were saying, Bernd. Thanks for summarizing it in
I'm
such
glad
a
I could
great
translate
way.
that for you.
So, I mean, for me, the interesting thing is it's impactful and it's also not impactful in a way to me, because when you think about it on the internet, everybody is equal in their own way. When someone posts a YouTube comment or sends us an email, they could be from anywhere, we don't know where they're from. They could be from Canada, they could be from Finland, they could be from Australia, they could be from Japan, we don't really know. And the internet kind of provides an even footing for all that kind of stuff. So to me, it's not necessarily surprising, because I know that people all around the world go on the internet, and it's not harder for people in Finland to see our stuff than it is from people from Canada. There's no restriction there. So in a way, it doesn't surprise me. But then you kind of take a step back and you think about kind of the implications of that. And yes, it is easier, but still, it's crazy that there are people literally on the other side of the world
Yeah.
who are listening to our voices in their cars or things like that.
Yeah, literally. I mean, currently it's it's 3 a.m. here, so I should have been asleep about 3 hours ago.
Yeah, and yet, well, it's the fantastical thing about the internet and the way that you can kind of connect with people all over the world. I had a realization the other day, not really realization, you kind of realize this a lot, but a thought the other day that I'm walking to work, and as I walk to and from work, I like to listen to snippets of podcasts. And it's kind of just weird to hear a podcast from someone who's living in Austin, Texas, or LA, and to just think about the fact that their words manage imagine how they would feel to hear that someone in Canada while walking to work is listening to it. That's crazy. And kind of to a certain extent, lesser because we're not as popular, but there are people who I bet have put our podcast on their phones and have listened to it in the car or something. And to think that it's traveled all the way over to Europe and Asia and Australia and all across South America, to think that our voices have somehow made it there. I haven't set foot on a lot of continents. I've set foot on Europe and I've set foot on North America. But my voice and my presence has set foot on many more continents. and many more countries that I've never actually been to before. And that's really cool. I think that's really cool. And like in the same way, with art, like Otaku, you've never been to North America, have you?
No.
But your art has, because I can pull up your art right now on the screen, and that's pretty cool.
Speaking of which, what do you think about the two newest pics I made?
Oh, the latest pics you mean that you made?
Yeah.
They're you okay? So anybody who doesn't follow Otaku AP, they should do it, obviously, right?
Of course.
So like, the crazy stuff that you do with moths is like kind of strange, but yeah, like it's crazy to think that like, isn't it crazy to think like you can make something like this, and then we can transfer those internet bytes over here, and like I can look at this and be like, oh, that's a crazy like moth thing, like that's really cool. And like I said, it's almost like your art has stepped foot on a continent that you haven't.
And I would like to still think it's universally weird too, right?
Yeah.
Like it's in Finland or Europe or anywhere, it's still extremely uncanny that there's a giant muscle-building moth on top of Applejack, where like in America we look at that just as weird, and if we even go over in Japan, where the last artist we featured was from, they'd probably go, what the hell's with you?
Yeah. So it's interesting to...
Yeah.
It's interesting to see that. I don't know, like I think that aspect's really cool. I think it's cool that I'm sitting and I'm talking right at this second, and this particular voice clip is going to be featured on continents that I have never set foot on.
Right?
That's crazy.
So if you are from somewhere interesting in the world, please say hi.
I want to know where I've traveled.
Yeah, right? Like whoever's listening to this, wherever you're from, like I know it's cheesy, but post in like the comments or something. Say where you're from. Like on a serious note, I'm actually extremely interested. If you don't feel like leaving a cheesy YouTube comment, go to like our DeviantArt or something.
Yeah, it's really cool. Anyways, we should move on to the second question before we run out of time. So, the second question comes in from Ramaslack, who I believe is Swedish.
Yeah,
there's a country I've never been to before.
Sweden.
Or have I? My voice has. And he asks, do you read fanfics? If so, which one is your favorite one? Do you both have boring answers?
Well, I don't have boring answers. I have read fanfics, and I have liked some of them, but I mean, it's still very minor. I've read maybe 2 or 3, but they're not like big ones. They've been like little small ones, or I saw a piece of artwork that I liked, and then I went and read whatever relevant fanfic was behind it, right?
So there hasn't been really one that's like your favorite, because you haven't really had enough to... You haven't, like it's easy to be like, oh, well, you saw 3. Well, what was your favorite? But like, if you don't really get into something, it's really hard to like come up with their favorite. So, I can totally understand that. Like, you can't just say something's your favorite if you don't have enough experience with something to actually form a favorite. Yeah.
Because it's like the few that I've read, like they're really good. Like that one, like I loved it. It was awesome. But I haven't read any others, so it's like the best one I have to go off of. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I have read a couple, but well, one I can't remember the name of, and it was basically like fanfiction, basically a continuation.
It's a
continuation, of
the, I can't remember the name of the episode right now. When the main 6 were telling stories about how they got their cutie marks.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
When the whole thing when Flutterbat falls down.
Right,
Gotcha.
right, yeah. So they kind of like continue that. Interesting.
Also, I read a couple of, basically that were inspired by my art.
Oh, okay.
That's kind of cool.
So like you'd make an art piece and then someone would make a fan fiction and then they send it to you?
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
See, that's pretty cool. Because, like, we joke about someone make a fan fiction about us, like, on the podcast, right? But it's like, we don't personally inspire fanfics. But to have, like, artwork where someone looks at that and be like, man, like, this inspires my creativity to write something about it, like, that's pretty cool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that is really cool.
Look at you. You're like a god in a way, Otaku.
There's a couple of them about Applejack and the Moth. Obviously.
Hey!
That's funny.
It's awesome.
I need to go find them again.
Moth fan art.
And one of them was about the duct tape picture, the picture where Twilight is taped to the wall.
Yeah, where she was in the library, right? Yeah,
and that was pretty fun.
Yeah, taped to the wall. Yeah. Well,
How did you
that's
get
interesting, the way that like creative processes inspire one another. Yeah, I mean, I guess I'll answer because I read fan fictions on and off, but it's like kind of rare nowadays. I did it like a couple of years ago, more so. Like I chewed through a bunch of them back in like 2012 or something like that. And I mean, everybody knows my favorite one. It's Background Pony. And I'm the type of person, when I read or when I watch something, I don't mind if what I read or what I watch makes me feel uncomfortable or makes me feel like sad or something. I don't like horror movies, so that's the only exception. But other than that, if something can make me feel an emotion and like allow me to kind of like tie into it very closely, then I have a lot of respect for that, because it's very hard to get someone emotionally invested in something. So Background Pony, again, is a very, very sad fan fiction, and it's, you know, kind of like it's hard on you emotionally. Yeah. But I feel like it's very rewarding, and it does it in such a good way that if you're able to handle that stuff, I'd go read it.
Yeah. See, like I'm sort of the opposite. Like I have the same appreciation and respect you do when something can really make you like emotionally invested, and that's my favorite type of stuff. Like I really, really enjoy that. But I'm I'm a very sensitive person. Like I don't like negative feelings.
You don't like feeling
about
sad.
Certain things. Yeah, like right. I don't like feeling sad or being like angry or hating certain characters, you know.
Right. Whereas I really like that. One of the things that I remember, Bern, you and I watched Korra, not together, but separately.
Yeah.
And I loved the way that all of the characters were like flawed and had like did stupid things, but I can imagine you were just looking at it like, oh, you're so dumb.
No, if they're flawed or do stupid things, like that's great, that's fine. That's not really what I mean. Like an example is in My Little Pony, in the Discord episode, and in the intro to season 2, was it season 3? Yeah, in intro to season 2, when they all become discorded and that everything starts to go like down and like get a lot more negative, and it becomes sad, it becomes melancholy, it almost becomes depressing in the way in which there's no hope, it's that loss of hope. And like, right. That's what creates conflict and how you like create a resolution and what makes it good. But there was so much like loss of this hope or whatever that it was really negatively grinding on me. And like I watch My Little Pony as kind of like a guilty pleasure to like for a positive like reinforcement or to feel good almost,
Right,
it's almost like a therapy for me in kind of a cheesy way.
Yep.
But I really like all the positive aspects that My Little Pony has. So to take something that was so positive and then be placed in almost this very like adult negative context, it was very like I didn't enjoy it because of that. And similarly, recently I watched an episode of Adventure Time, and it was a really awesome episode. It was great, but it took place in the future of Adventure Time after like all the main characters have passed away, after the Candy Kingdom has basically become non-existent, and is like, and it's this post-apocalyptic like future version of where Adventure Time takes place. The Ice King is now like completely just like become a monster, and like all these horrible things where it's like, wow, this episode was really, really depressing because everyone basically dies in the future, and it's that like that horribly sad future that we all have to look forward to in life, or that is going to happen in our life. But it's like, I don't want to think about that. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. I don't want to like be focused on the melancholic like end of all of our own existence. Like
right.
Junk like that. You know what I mean? Yes. I don't like sad things. It's sad. No.
I love that. I think that's great. So I was actually thinking, before you even mentioned any of that, like I was thinking there was a book that was recommended to me recently. I believe it's called The Road, and it's basically a book about a guy and his son, and the apocalypse has happened, and they're like basically out of hope, and they're just like struggling throughout the entire book to like make it to this like safe place, but like you don't even know if it's safe or not. And apparently the entire thing is supposed to be this like just like draining experience, and like it makes you so sad and like hopeless and stuff like that. And I can't wait to read it because it sounds great.
Yeah, I hate that. You're crazy.
It's great.
You're an evil man.
I love it.
Bern likes feels goods.
Good feels.
And apparently Mahauer hates feels. What a jerk. We just had this weird discussion recently where he hates all the feelsy stuff in fandoms. It's like, all right, okay.
That's strange. All right. Well, that is everything for this week. I guess we should probably do the plugs. Burn, do you want to do the plugs? You haven't done the plugs in like ever.
Hey, dude, I haven't. All right. So, Pluggerinos. So, we have an email, which is at Cutie Art Crusaders. We have a Tumblr, which is Cutie Art Crusaders as well. We have a DeviantArt, which is Cutie Art Crusaders. And we have a YouTube page, which is Cutie Art Crusaders. And we have a Picardo, which you have to Google Cutie Art Crusaders. Cutie Art Crusaders. So you have to Google Cutie Art Crusaders, or you can look in all the links below if you're watching this on YouTube. And then lastly, we have a Twitter, which is unique. It is at Cutie Art Crusade.
There you go. Cool. All right. Well, that is...
Oh, and Facebook, which is, again, Cutie Art Crusaders.
Okay. Well, that is everything for this week. I was kind of expecting you to interrupt me again, but yeah. So yeah. I guess that's basically everything. So thank you very much, Otaku AP, for coming on. It was a pleasure to have you. So thank you for coming on and helping us out here.
Thank you for being our Finnish host.
Sorry that I couldn't talk more.
That's okay.
Right.
You're a shy little adorable little pony, and that's fine. Everybody is different and special, and we still love you all the same.
Like, we gotta have the loud-mouthed horses that won't shut up like myself, and then we gotta have the cute, adorable, like, little quiet horses like yourself and the other people from the quiet branch of Northern Europeans.
It's all right. From what I've learned, you'll still have more fans than both of us combined somehow at the end of this episode. So
it's true. It's true.
So, yeah. Man, we are running out of time, but we have a really cool announcement that we have to get to, so we're gonna have to.
Oh yeah,
go
I'm gonna be going to Everfree Northwest at the end of this month.
That's absolutely not it at all. So I wanted to make a little announcement for next week, because next week we have probably one of our coolest episodes that we could possibly make.
It's true.
And we're going to need everybody's help as much as possible to try and spread this, because we think it's a great opportunity. So let me just get this out of the way now. So next week we have an interview. And one of our friends recently, a Mrs. Jordana from Duo Cartoonist, the people who brought you Children of the Night.
Lovely people.
Yeah, very lovely people. She recently came to all of us and she said, I've got a friend, and this friend's name is Mr. John Martin Wong. And so he likes to go by Martin. And Mr. John Martin Wong happens to have worked at a very special company. That company is Top Draw. And if you don't know what that means, Top Draw is the company that does the final animations for the TV show My Little Pony, Friendship is Magic, amongst others. Martin himself has worked on things such as My Little Pony Season 1 and My Little Pony Season 2. And he recently wanted to come out and represent the animators of My Little Pony because he felt like they were underrepresented. And this is a very, very exciting interview for us to have someone who's actively participated in making the show come on, as well as this is one of the only times that an animator has ever come out for a public interview. It's a very, very rare thing, and a lot of it is covered in NDAs, so for us to get this opportunity is incredibly exciting. We have sent a couple of press releases to some local pony websites, so hopefully they'll help us out by posting about that. But we'd very much appreciate it if you could also spread the word about this. Of course, it'll be airing next week, which will be Tuesday, May the 19th on our Picardo and then our YouTube. So yeah, it's incredibly exciting. Very, very rare interview that we're getting here, and we're super looking forward to it, and we hope that you guys are as well. And yeah, that's basically it, I suppose. Anything to add, Bernd?
Nope. It was super cool. I'm pretty pumped.
Cool.
He animated Luna.
He did animate Luna, so it's, you gotta... Let's spread this. Let's try and spread this. We don't like to do a lot of self-advertisement. We just like to do this as a hobby, but we feel like this is a really, really exciting opportunity for everybody, for everybody to be able to participate in this. And we want to spread it not because we want to get super popular, it's more like we think that a lot of people can benefit from hearing this perspective that we've never heard before. So yeah, that is everything for this week, guys. Thank you for watching and thank you for sharing our show around. Thank you again, Otaku AP, for coming on. It was very nice to have you.
It was nice to be here.
And yeah. All right. Well, that's everything for this week, guys. So whether or not you're on Picarto or on YouTube, we love you all the same. My name is Rainbow Plasma.
My name's Brno1.
And I'm OtakuAP.
Hey!
And we'll see you guys next week.